The reason why gas prices are up is because of Russia. Russia, Russia, Russia. The reason why the food crisis exists is because of Russia. Russia not allowing grain to get out of Ukraine.
All right, that was President Biden there. He was speaking earlier at the NATO summit. He was answering questions from several reporters, many of which were about inflation. How long do Americans have to pay for gas at high prices? How long do Americans have to deal with record inflation? Joining us now as our panelist today, we're pleased to have Chairman of the American Conservative Union and author of The Desecrators, the book on your screen here, Matt Schlapp. Good to see you, Matt. Thanks so much. Also with us, Democratic analyst Jonathan Harris. Jonathan, thank you as well. We do appreciate that. Matt, if I can start with you there, the president on the world stage now, again, remember this is politics typically end right there at the border. Unfortunately, this did not happen. The domestic questions were asked there at the NATO summit. Your reaction today is a lot of the blame being shifted there on Russia as to why the American people are paying more for everyday products and goods.
Yeah, I do agree with you. I think when you're in a foreign country and you're at a NATO summit, I don't think it's the right time to attack Clarence Thomas or Brett Kavanaugh or your own Supreme Court. But the bigger problem with Joe Biden is the constant lying. I gave him a little bit of benefit of the doubt. You're a new president for a while, and obviously he's an older guy, but like he is purposely lying to the American people as to the fact that it's his very policies that he chose that have resulted in this inflation. Look at fuel costs. The reason why we have spikes in our gasoline prices and our diesel prices, there's a lot of factors that go into it. The biggest factor is the belief that in America, we're not going to drill, baby, drill anymore. We're shutting down every conceivable new fossil fuel project we possibly can. And that's driving those costs up because we know that our supplies are dwindling. We used to be a net exporter of fossil fuels, and that is ending under Joe Biden. All of this excessive regulations and all of his Build Back Better and COVID relief is fueling this inflation, which is yet another tax increase on the American people. And the gas prices, let me just be very clear. Yeah. It's right. The central component of the Green New Deal is to have us pay $6, $7, $8 a gallon for gas. It's what they want. They believe that will push us to not use fossil fuels and not use gas-powered cars. And I want to see how popular that is in November. I think it's a loser.
Jonathan Harris, I'll bring you in on this, too. An Associated Press reporter was one of the first ones to be called on. What she did is cite an Associated Press NORC poll. That poll points to this, saying growing a majority in the United States say the nation is on the wrong track. That is including 78% of Democrats as the economy plagues this administration. The president went on to say that America is on the right track. Talk to me about this and the difference between the president saying that on the world stage, but also Associated Press polling saying otherwise.
Well, I think a huge part of it is messaging, and that's something that I've been screaming from the rooftops for almost 2 years now. And I think finally now he's beginning to do what he should have done a long time ago, and it's probably going to take a little bit of time to turn that ship. But this is one of the things that he's fighting against is the dishonesty on the right. And I always wonder if it's that the right doesn't know what's going on or that they know what's going on and they don't want to tell the truth. We know that oil prices are up because of the war in Ukraine. They're up all over the world because of Russia's aggression against Ukraine. That's just a known fact. We know that oil prices are up because oil executives have been clear that they want to maintain capital discipline, which means they want to return money to their shareholders, and also because of COVID, because the need for gas plummeted when nobody was driving. And all of a sudden, because Biden's economy is recovering, the need for gas spiked. But we also know that gas prices started rising under Trump for the same reason. So that's the truth, but it's not what you're going to hear from the right because they're not going to tell you the truth about it. And then Biden is just now starting to get out there and tell the truth. Right. So I think that polling reflects just the fact that he's kind of started doing this a little bit late.
Yeah, let me give Matt a chance to respond.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jonathan.
Might I hit this directly? I'm not lying about the price of fossil fuels. I'm not lying about the fact that the spikes were occurring before Vladimir Putin ever went into Ukraine. I'm not lying when I tell you that the Keystone XL pipeline would have been finished this year if Joe Biden would allow it to be finished. The product we would have pulled in on the Keystone pipeline would have replaced more than 100% of the fossil fuels we take in from Russia. So what is dishonest is to say that, yes, there are multiple things that play into the price of any commodity. The number one driver to the fact that gas prices are exploding in this country is because this administration has, as a stated policy, hostility to domestic drilling, domestic fracking, domestic coal production, any form of fossil fuels. They are against, and they are stopping the projects left and right. And that is the number one driver to our expanded prices.
What you're saying would be true, only this is happening all over the world. So what I just said in the situations that I cited,
we were the number one producer.
No, it's because these are things that are happening on the global stage, and the Republican Party needs to blame Biden for everything. I think they would want an economic collapse just so they could blame it on Biden. And again, that is what Biden is running into.
We don't have to root for it. We're getting it.
No, you got a recession under Trump. You are getting 8+ million jobs added under this administration, higher wages, and the deficit cut. I don't know. Yeah, that's definitely not a recession.
If I could explain to you what happened under Donald Trump, because Tony Fauci and the virus panickers shut down our economy for the very first time, that yes, it had no question, it had a devastating economic impact. And what Joe Biden has done is taken these.
You're blaming Fauci for shutting down the country and not the president.
Let me finish. I would agree with you that there are historic challenges, but what Joe Biden has done, unfortunately, is make all the wrong moves. He overstimulated the economy with trillions of dollars that fueled this inflation. He stopped all these fossil fuel projects. And yes, when we make these decisions on fossil fuel projects, when we make these decisions on fossil fuel projects in America, it does have a global impact. Actually, you know what's ironic? The Canadians are more pro-fossil fuel than these left-wingers in America. That takes quite a do to get to the left of Justin Trudeau.
You're not answering my question. You're saying, I mean, even if I ran with what you were saying, which is not the case, but if it was the stimulus, who handed out the first stimulus? Who handed out the first stimulus? Was it Trump or Biden?
Yes, I agree with you that I was opposed to spending that much, except for the fact that when we did our first tranche of stimulus, if you let me answer, when we did our first tranche of stimulus, it was because we made people shut down their businesses. As a fiscal conservative, I did think that was an economic taking by the government, and those people deserve to be remunerated for the fact that they didn't have a choice to open up their business. What Joe Biden did is then did what liberals always do. He thought we could spend our way out of all of our problems, and on the other side of that equation, he unleashed this inflation monster, which I believe will take a decade to get back in its cage. And we know what his answer is? Build back better, baby. He wants to spend more. Well, that's called insanity.
Inflation, I'm sure you understand what the Phillips curve is. If you understand what the Phillips curve is in economics, you know that inflation comes right with adding a lot of jobs to the economy, because when you add a lot of jobs to the economy, wages have to go up, and those get passed on to the consumer, and it fuels inflation, not to mention the supply chain issues that come with the recovering economy.
I do understand.
I get what you're saying, but I get what you're saying, but I also think that it's problematic. If you could just let me finish, I think it is problematic that you found a way to skip around the fact that Trump mishandled COVID so badly it cost him the presidency, and that he didn't use the federal resources that he had available to him at the time to prevent people from having to shut things down.
But you've given a plenty long answer here. Right. You've given a plenty long answer here. Let me be very clear. Joe Biden is in the White House because the Democrats had a historic, unprecedented level of voter fraud. I do believe that Tony Fauci and Donald Trump too. Now you got to let me talk if we're going to do this. I do believe that Tony Fauci and Donald Trump too had to make decisions around this unique historical situation.
Playing us off here, fellas. I do appreciate it. Matt Schlapp, Jonathan Harris.
I didn't get an answer. He filibustered me.
I got to get to break. A great discussion between the both of you. Love to have you back. Great sports. Thank you, Matt Schlapp, Jonathan Harris. Much more after this quick break.